This is the worst experience of my life. I can't believe they abandoned me just for legality.
In 2022, I did a road trip across America and nearly died in southern Utah. Today on this episode of Trail Fails, we're talking Bryce Canyon. Now this episode is a little bit weird, but there's lots of lessons to be learned here. And the main reason it's weird is because I got COVID, and COVID nearly killed me in Bryce Canyon. But I also had dehydration. So let's go over what happened, what I did wrong, and how you can learn from this. So this goes back to, if we look at my Strava calendar, May of 2022, and I had done a couple peaks here, and I drove down to Provo on the 21st. Now I went into the Walmart, and there was a woman hacking up a lung, like, right in front of the vitamin section. I reached in, I grabbed the vitamins, got out of there, but I ended up getting sick. The next morning I had a scratchy throat. I spent the 22nd and the 23rd just recovering, and on the 24th I started to feel a little bit better after I was awake for a couple hours. I went and did the Mossy Caves Trail, which I already have that video online, at sunset. Spent the night there, and the next morning I felt great. I felt, okay, I'm ready to roll. Let's go do Fairyland Loop. Now if we go look at the Fairyland Loop, this is Bryce Canyon here. This is the main area where people kind of camp, and there's the hotel and campgrounds, etc. Here's the main the National Park Visitor Center, and the black loop here is the Fairyland Loop, aside from this bit. So I went and started from the Fairyland Point, which is not the best place to start. There's no water over here. There's just a small parking lot. I didn't know. I saw like, oh, that's where a trailhead is, I think on all trails or whatever, and I just went and did it from there. I started this hike and I felt totally fine. I was going down, so you start on the top of the canyon here and you go down into it. So you can see you're going up and down a little bit. For the most part, you're going down and then you're just kind of bobbing around in the bottom of the canyon, and then you go back up right here. So for this first part, I was totally fine. When I got up to here, where is it? Right here, I started to get a really runny nose. And it was real weird because I don't get runny noses ever. Now I do get runny noses when I have food poisoning. I haven't been sick since 2014. So I wasn't really thinking like, oh, I'm sick, like I got an illness from that lady in the Walmart in Provo. I was thinking I got food poisoning because that's the other time I get a runny nose. So I climbed up this and up to here, and I got this shot from here, which is awesome, looking towards this big rock formation. And I remember this because I looked at it, I'm like, this is incredible, and I felt fine. I had a runny nose, and then from here going downwards, this is all down this trail, I started to feel weird, and I always get this weird feeling when just before food poisoning hits me really hard, and my nose got runnier and runnier. I was just blowing my nose every 5 seconds, and I was like, what is going wrong with me here? And there's a group of people, like probably mid-20s, there's 6 of them, and 2 or 3 of them were kind of lagging way far behind, and they were pretty sunburned. And I caught up to a couple of them right here, and we took a look at this tower bridge, this big hole in the rock here at the same time. Then they were a little bit ahead of me. We started to go up this slope, and this is when I felt just like so weak. I just felt my body's energy draining at a drastic rate going up here, and I got the very last shot with my tripod right here. I put my tripod down, I walked up here, and I was just like, I'm done. I have no energy. I have no idea what's going on. Am I just dehydrated? I was sipping my water. I brought 2.5 liters of water with me. This is a 15-kilometer hike to go all the way around, 9 miles. I was a little less than that. That includes this bit. But I drank a full liter of water, or liter and a half before I left. So I had a ton of water in my system. And then by the time I was here, I was out of water. I just had to keep sipping it because I was just losing so much through my nose. And I was like, oh, this is not good. So I got my last shot, my tripod. I put it away. I'm like, I'm done. I just need to get the heck out of here now. And the problem is this is all elevation gain. There's 411 meters, or about 1,200 feet of elevation gain for this hike, and most of it is right here to get out of the canyon. So I was going uphill. I got no water left. I'm feeling really dehydrated. It's really dry in the bottom of this canyon. It feels like the water is getting sucked out of your body. It was 33 degrees Celsius, it's 91 Fahrenheit that day, so it was hot. I had a sun hat, full coverage. I wasn't getting burned, but it was hot. So I started going up, and it was just like very linear. My strength, my energy just going down. It's just going down as I went up. I was just getting weaker and weaker to a point where I'm using my tripod and my pole like a crutch. I'm like, oh, just you got to get out of here. I'd find like a big rock like this, or a big tree, and sit underneath it 5-10 minutes, just cool down, keep going. And I was going almost the same pace as the two people ahead of me. They were really cooked, they were really burned, and they needed extra time too. I got weaker and weaker, and I just needed to like focus and like just push. You can get out of here. Just don't fall down. Don't collapse. Don't drop dead up here. You got to get out of here. And so it's like one of the hardest mental games was just trying to keep that going. And once I got around this corner here, the other group members of that group ahead of me, they were waiting. And I think the two people who were sunburned, they just caught up with them. So they were all taking a breather underneath one of these big trees. And I was just scraping myself up there. And one of the guys in that group, he looked at me and he knew right away like I was cooked. And he's like, hey man, do you need some water? I got like half a liter here. So I'm like, yeah, you sure? Like I need water. If you can spare it, that's why I said if you can spare it. He's like, oh yeah, no problem. I got another bottle here. So then he gave me a half liter water and he's like, oh wait, I got this too. And he pulled out a Gatorade little packet, like an electrolyte packet. And the guy probably saved my life. So if you're watching this, if you ever see this, get in contact. I'd like to to thank you in person. But yeah, that guy likely saved my life because I was absolutely done. Like I was starting to get the cold shakes. When you're dehydrated, that's a bad thing. That's a very bad thing. So I drank a little bit of that and then I sipped the rest of that all the way up as I slowly dragged my carcass up this slope here. And once I got to here, this is the rim trail. They told me go left, and that's the quickest way to the water, because if you can see here, if I went right, my car's over here, that's, I'd have warm water over there. I needed some cold water. And this is 4 kilometers or 2.8 or something miles, 4 kilometers. It's a long ways if you're nearly dead. So I went up here, and likely if I'd gone there, there's probably water at this, looks like a bathroom. There's a general store here. I didn't know this was here. I didn't know if these were open or not. I just looked at my map and I saw, hotel. And I just I could barely see straight. My vision was getting blurry. I was just stumbling. I was just trying to navigate and look for water. It got really annoying too, because this rim trail is so popular. There's so many people here, and people have got strollers and stuff, and they're all blocking the way, and I'm trying to go around them, and there's just not a single care given. It's just people are just, it was a little frustrating. People are in their own world. And I stumbled up here. I saw this building. This was a hotel, but this is just these are units people are in. It's not the lobby. I got here to the lodge at Bryce Canyon. I looked for water outside. There wasn't any. I found a fountain in there. I sat next to this fountain for 2 hours sipping water, because you can't rehydrate with just a big guzzling of it. You got to bring it in slowly. And this woman in her late 60s probably came up to me, and she's like, hey, are you okay? You're not looking well. I'm like, I'm in bad shape. And she's like, can I do something for you? Is there anything I can get you? Do you need me to take you somewhere? I can drive you somewhere. And I really wanted to take her up on her offer, but I'd realized when I was sitting there for about 20 minutes, I might have COVID. This might not be food poisoning. So I pulled up my mask, and she didn't have a mask, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't potentially give her the pain I was feeling. I didn't want to pass that on to her. She was being so nice and wanting to help me. I couldn't say yes to her help. She's older and at higher risk. I thought the better option here is I have a mask. I saw there's a golf cart outside. If I can get the hotel here, the lodge at Bryce Canyon, to just use the golf cart, drive me back. We're out open air. Plus, they're younger people, stronger immune systems. They're all wearing masks. That seemed like a much more logical solution. So I went over here, sat on the couch for a bit. That was right in front of the lobby check-in. And when it all cleared out, there's no one there. Then I went up and I said, and I also realized, I went and talked to them right about 6 o'clock. I think it was 6 o'clock. It was an hour before the park was going to close. And I needed to get back all the way over here in an hour and out the door, because there's gates here they lock somewhere here to this national park. And I didn't want them to tow my vehicle, because, I don't want to get back there. My vehicle's not there, or my vehicle's towed or whatever, right? I have to get out in an hour. So I realized I need to go get them to drive me back right now. So I said, hey, I saw you guys have a golf cart out there. Do you think you could give me a ride back to my vehicle? I'm in really rough shape. I'm horribly dehydrated. And then one of the guys hey, yeah, no problem. I can help you out. Let's go. So he went out, grabbed the golf cart, drove me over to here. And then I was like, no, I'm like way over there. I don't know what it's called, but here, let me get my phone. So he started driving further, and he drove me over here, the Sunrise Point kind of area. And I said, no, I'm further over. And I pulled up my map and I showed him, like, I'm over here. And he's like, oh. He's like, well, I don't know. Like, I'm not sure if I can bring my golf cart over there because I have to go on this main road, this Bryce Canyon City Road, for a little bit and then back down. So he's like, well, how about I go back? I'll ask my manager and then we'll see. So we're driving back, and I said, if I have to go walking back there, there's a chance you guys will find my dead body on that trail somewhere. I want to make it very clear the state my health was in. He went in and he asked his manager, and his manager didn't come out to talk to me directly. His manager sent him to deliver the news, and he basically just said, yeah, sorry, my manager won't let me. It's a liability issue. And I was like, okay, my life is a liability issue. Got it. It's just like when you realize, the hotel is the liability chance of, something happening to me in the golf cart on this little section of road is more important than the chance of me dropping dead, going back there, doing myself. I'm like, whatever, fair enough. I wasn't staying there. I wasn't providing any monetary value to them. So I guess, fair enough. Why would they put their hotel at risk for my life? I guess it doesn't make sense if you think about it logically. So I said to him, could you help me out though, and just drive me back to where he drove me before? At least that would cut off a small chunk. He's like, no problem. So we drove back through these little roads and stuff, and he dropped me off here somewhere, like right here. I do want to note here quickly, this guy really did want to help me. He even told me when we were driving back, if he can't use the golf cart, he'll drive me over there in his own car. And when he came back, he looked so defeated, and he just said, sorry, I'm not allowed. He didn't bring up anything more about his own car or the golf cart. He drove me back over to that spot though to help me out as best as he could. So I'm not sure what happened with that conversation with the manager, but I didn't want to get the guy fired. I didn't want to push it further, him driving me in his own car. At this point, I had to hike myself back over there and hope I'd make it. And I made a few mistakes here, but I was just cooked at this point. I couldn't even barely think properly. I walked back this way because I knew there was a trail, and then back up here. I should have just walked over here and there's even a little trail here, just gone up this little trail. I could have cut off a section there. And I started stumbling along this trail, and I was exhausted. I knew I had to do it as quick as possible. There was an elevation gain right there, and this just killed me. It absolutely killed me. There was a guy there, and he's like, oh, are you all right, man? I'm like, no, I'm not all right. and then he's like, and I'm like, I got nothing else, man. I'm not all right. I might die on this trail. and then it goes downhill here, and then it goes back up another one, and it's just like,
I've got the cold shakes. My body's frozen, and it's also hot. Just trying to take it nice and easy.
Yeah, it took everything to get up there. Like I was, trying to distract myself, counting sheep and picturing other places and things I'd done, and just thinking of people and my cat, and I was trying to distract myself with anything. And so this one here was more gradual, this little uphill, but this still was brutal too. And once I got to here, my cold shakes went away, and I was in a pretty dire situation. I started filming clips here that I don't even really remember filming at all.
And I've been laying on the couch for 2 hours, drinking water and electrolytes. And I begged them to take me back to my starting point, which is further up on the thing here, and they legally couldn't do that. So he dropped me off 200 meters closer, and now I'm not cut out for this right now. My body's falling apart. All I needed was a ride. They won't find my dead body on this. I think it's about 2.5-3 kilometers to get over there. I can see the start, but this is the worst experience of my life. I'm almost lights out. I can't believe they abandoned me just for illegality. I could have signed a waiver saying if they kill me driving me over, then I wouldn't sue them. That would have been fun. I'm done. Hard to enjoy this nice view.
Somewhere along this trail here, probably it was somewhere right here, I believe. In the middle of the trail, I was just like, I need to pee. And I just stopped and I took a piss right in the middle of the trail. I've never done that before in my life. This is a national park. I didn't even take a step over to go in the bush. Like, I was just so messed up. And once I got over here, I had a small brief window of clarity in my mind, and then it just disappeared. I got to here and I looked at my map. I was like, I should just walk straight and not all the way down here. And then I sat there for a second thinking, what do I do? Do I follow the trail, which I can easily see, or do I bushwhack straight across? Now, this is not really that bad of bushwhacking. It's just, you know, like rocks and dirt and stuff. In hindsight, I wish I had listened to my initial instinct of just, let's just cut right across. But I followed the trail just because it was easy to turn into a metronome. I started like doing a chant in my head. I was like, and every time I made this noise, I'd have to take a step, and otherwise I wouldn't be in the beat of it, and it frustrated me if I didn't follow the beat. It was like the way I used to like trick myself into keep stepping, because at this point I didn't have energy to walk. I just wanted to lay down and die, basically. And I just used this metronome thing, and I got louder and louder and louder. I didn't run into anyone for this whole rest of this section, thankfully, because I was on the trail going with like one eye half open the whole time.
Nearly dead. I feel terrible. If I felt this bad in my life.
I got around the corner here, and I swear, like, the parking lot's got to be here. And I just kept on telling myself, behind that tree, the parking lot is right there. And I knew full well it wasn't, because I couldn't see no parking lot. But it was enough to just give me a bit of hope. And once I came around this corner here, I finally looked down, and there was my bright blue cargo box on top of my vehicle. And then I was like, even then, I didn't have like this burst of energy to run over there. I was just like, all the way over, got in my car. It was 7:09 p.m. It was either that or 8:09. Whenever it closed, I was about 9 minutes over the time the park closed. Luckily, they didn't tow my car. If they towed my car, I would have been dead, because I would have just collapsed. There was no one here. There was no cars, just mine. So I would have been the only one there. I would have just dropped dead in this. And that would have been it. I drove out, and obviously I got a bunch of water in my vehicle. I had already rehydrated a ton, but it just takes hours for that to really get back in your body. And I drove out of here, past the gate. The gate wasn't locked, thankfully, and I drove out. The main thing is I had to get out of here and back to the Pines Rest area, which is right here. So there's a bathroom and a place to sit and a flat spot to park the car right there. This is probably one of the most dangerous drives I've ever did. This is only like 8-minute drive, something like that. I was doing this with kind of, I could see, but like one eye was like trying to just, it was hard to keep both my eyes open. It's hard to keep my focus. And I had a rule, like I was in bad shape. I shouldn't have been driving, but I needed to get over there so I could just collapse and sleep. Because I couldn't just do this anywhere here. And I had a rule like this, it was already getting dark. It was like the sun was setting. If I ran into another car, I could see a bunch of cars behind me or coming towards me. I would just pull over and let them all go away and then drive, because I was not in a good state to drive. I got through here fine, and then I almost crashed my car right here. I started to swerve off the road to the right. I pulled it back on, got around the corner. I almost crashed it again right here. And then I almost crashed it again just before the Pines Rest area right here. This one, I really almost just plowed it out of there, and I got it controlled. I'm like, you're right there, just come on. And I started like trying to hype myself up like for a hockey game or something. Got in here, parked my car. There was one other car parked here, a couple van lifers there. And I showed up and I got out and I was all like jittery and the guy looked at me. He's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "No, I'm not okay. I'm not okay." I'm like, "Stay away from me. I think I have COVID. It's killing my body. I'm dehydrated. I'm going to go to sleep and I hope I wake up." And then I laid down in my vehicle and I was shaking. I was freezing cold. I was scorching hot. I was every single thing. And luckily, after about 30 minutes of just agonizing shaking and pain and cold and hot, I fell asleep. I woke up at 3 in the morning and I felt terrible. And those shakes were just slightly less, 20% less maybe. Luckily, I got back to sleep again, woke up at 7 in the morning. I felt about 20 or 30% better. So at least the cold shaking and the jitters, like my body was just like doing this, like it couldn't stop it. And then that was gone in the morning for the most part. I still felt terrible, but if we look at my calendar, and I don't even remember this because when I have had numerous traumas now that my brain protects me from them, and I tend to glaze over details and facts, and it just tries to erase the stuff out of my memory as a protection method. It's a very, I think, pretty common thing for people who've gone through traumas in their life, and so my body does that, my brain does that very effectively. So I had to really dig through a lot of information here to remember, like, oh yeah, that's what happened. So I got all that here on the 25th, Fairyland Loop, and then the next day I woke up, I was 30% better, but I still felt terrible. I spent the whole day at just the rest area. And the day after that, the next morning on the 27th, I was just thinking, I woke up and I felt good. I was like, oh, I'm feeling better. Like, I didn't feel amazing, but I felt better. Like, oh, I could walk around. Like, I feel kind of chill. Like, and all I could think was like, I want to get the heck out of Bryce Canyon. I hate Bryce Canyon. I was really hating that hotel. I felt worthless. I felt like my life was of no value. It's like that, liability was worth more than my life. Like, I was demoralized by all of that. I was also just the pain of it. I felt like an absolute failure and just worthless. I just wanted to get out of Bryce Canyon. All those emotions, everything was attached to that canyon. So I was like, if I can just film the Queen's Garden Navajo Loop, I can get the heck out of here, because that's one of the most popular hikes in the United States. I'm out here filming hiking videos, trying to make a living at this, and I have to film the most popular things. I can't leave until Queen's Garden Navajo Loop is filmed. So I woke up, I was feeling like this new pep of life in me. It wasn't feeling terrible. It's an easy loop. So we look at the Queen's Garden Loop. It's pretty simple. We're talking 240 meters of elevation gain, like 600 feet, and 6.8 kilometers, so like 4 miles or something. It's a really simple loop and not as much elevation gain. So it was a risk, and it worked out okay. But I went and did this loop. Towards the end here, there's this thing called the wall, where you can see all these switchbacks. You can do 2 of them. I didn't have the energy to do the second one, but I got up the first one, got to the top, and was like, I'm done. I'm not feeling great. It's time to get out of here. Went back to my car, and after that, if we go back to my map here, I end up processing the rest of that sickness after that. So I'm not sure what happened there, but I did get that one boost of energy. I filmed it, and while filming that, I also smashed the front of my camera. A rogue gust of wind picked up my camera, which was with a tripod, weighs like 8 pounds, smashed the front of it, and the screen. Luckily, the screen on these Sony a7S III is apparently made out of like adamantium or something. The screen had a small like little nick on it, nothing, just perfectly fine. And the screen is folded out sideways, so it's like the point of contact was hit on the screen on the corner. But anyways, but the front of my lens filter, not the lens itself, I've got a filter on front of it, that was what was smashed. So at that point I was like, crap, I need to order a new one. So I ordered it to like this town north of me, and I drove from that rest area up to some little shop that does these Amazon remote kind of thing. So I drove from here, Bryce Canyon, up here and over to Richfield, which is way up here. So this, I think, was a 2-hour something drive, 2 or 3 hours. So I ordered that as soon as I broke it on the 27th. And then I got up there the next day on the 28th, and I felt terrible, but it was good enough to drive. So I was actually getting worse. Maybe that's because I did that hike too quickly. And then I waited there a few days while I was just horribly sick. and just kind of surviving this COVID up until the 31st, and then that's when I got the filter, and then I came back the next day, and I was feeling way better on the 1st of June. I did Big Rock Candy Mountain. That video is online already too. That was fantastic, and I just felt like $1 million that day, or at least I was probably about 90%. So that's my story on nearly dying in Bryce Canyon. Main takeaways here are COVID sucks. I have 2 shots of the jab. Actually, the second shot of my jab nearly killed me. So I don't know if the jab helped me. Did that save me? Did it do nothing and I still got COVID? I don't know. The main things to take away here is I should have wore a mask every time I was in Walmart. Just stay away from people, mask groups. If there is I always wear a buff, so it's easy just to pull it up. You can always have it with you, pull it up. And that way I could have protected myself better. The water thing is just tough. I mean, looking back, I should have brought maybe another liter of water. But under the circumstances, I chugged like a good liter and a half before I left. 2.5 liters of water, like that's still, I would say that's still enough. Like 2.5 liters of water on that little trail, you know, it's not much elevation gain. It's really not, it was just the COVID sucked me dry. So it's kind of, I don't know, it's a tough one really, because I didn't expect it to hit me. It got me at the bottom of the canyon going up. So, you know, the COVID thing is really unpredictable, but on a hot day, it's always better to bring a little bit extra water. Always bring an extra 1/2 or 1 liter extra than you think you need. You can always drink it a little bit more quickly, and then you have the extra water to spare. So hopefully you learned some lessons from my experience here in Bryce Canyon. Be sure to subscribe, and until next one, have a great day.